Um, Joe, you were mentioning indoor air quality earlier. We had a question, how was air quality improved in the study that was mentioned? Did it require a full HVAC modernization? I do think that is one of the ongoing fears about the whole subject of indoor air quality. But would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a common concern and it makes a lot of sense. Like, hey, am I gonna have to overhaul my entire building? The short answer is no. I mean, if you look at some of the things I'm talking about or I mentioned, these are low cost. Some of them are even cost neutral things, right? So this idea of giving your building a tune-up, the ROI on that for some buildings could just be a couple of years. You start saving energy right away. So it hits your climate goals, your energy goals, but also improves indoor air quality. You can improve air quality also through basic things like filtration. Filtration is cheap, couple dollars, really cheap stuff. And all this notion out there that the mechanical systems can't handle higher grades of filtration. Honestly, it was that was misplaced concern. It was valid to raise it, but we haven't seen an issue when people upgrade to MERV 13 filtration or higher. I know Armstrong has some really clever, interesting ways to do filtration with very low or very good acoustical performance. So barely it falls within the background noise. So you can do this for really cheap, improve indoor air quality. So ventilation, and then when you're upgrading your systems, that's the time to think about, well, how can I go above these minimums in terms of increasing the ventilation rates? A lot of times what we see in a building is just that, remember, these are design standards, and over years and years and years, they slip through no fault of the facilities team, but you start to commission your buildings, you bring them up the way they're performing, you're already increasing ventilation rates, you're raising that floor, higher levels of filtration. And Mark, I think a really important point around this, we always talk about these threats in different silos. And sometimes that releases different funding. So we've been talking about the COVID threat, influenza threat, wildfire smoke, extreme heat, climate and energy. But honestly, all of these threats run through our buildings, and therefore many of the solutions do as well. And when you think about a solution like better ventilation and filtration, well, that's addressing COVID, RSV, influenza. It's also addressing wildfire smoke. If you do it right and address your thermal comfort performance, including building envelope and ceiling, these kind of improvements, you're saving energy and addressing extreme heat. So while the media, I think we get attention and our eyes turn towards the climate threat, they turn towards the COVID threat, extreme heat. This week it's hurricanes. Importantly, we pivot towards these crises. We realize a lot of these threats are acting all the time on our buildings, and our buildings are part of that solution set. And these solutions can be low cost to cost neutral and address multi-threats at the same time. So it is the ultimate, resilient strategy is to think about, we don't know what threats are coming. We know additional threats always challenge us. And if you do design the building right, you can design for to address multiple threats at the same time.